Welcome to America's News Headquarters. Today in Washington, I'm Gillian Turner. The special counsel's office is pushing back at the suggestion the FBI acted improperly when interviewing former National Security Advisor to President Trump, Michael Flynn. The federal government's on the brink of another shutdown in the Trump era, but this time the president's indicated he's willing to let it happen. French police have fired tear gas across the Champs-Élysées in Paris after protesters there scuffled with officers outside the city's opera house.
Yeah, a cold, wet Saturday in December here.
Just 5 days to go, as Leland points out, and President Trump says he'd be proud to shut down the government. Congressional leaders of both parties bracing themselves now for the fallout. Pick, though, for acting chief of staff Mick Mulvaney is the guy who led the push for a 2.5-week shutdown over Obamacare in 2013. This amid the 5th straight weekend of protests by the Yellow Vest movement. Greg, we can get everything in here, but one last quick question on healthcare. Is there a sense among your colleagues of sort of disappointment now that they weren't taxed now to foreign policy? Your colleagues in the Senate passed this resolution this week, sort of condemning Saudi Arabia's role in the war in Yemen. Because you're on the Armed Services Committee in the House, I've got to ask, do you agree with the measure when it comes to the House? Are you going to vote in favor of the same type of measure? So, this is in national security. This is something you've been working on now for a while, is working to help bring women's voices to Capitol Hill. On the staff side, on the political side, on the campaign side, tell us a little bit about your latest initiative. I think our viewers will find this really interesting.
Yes. So,
it's among your colleagues over on the Hill that a district court judge is now doing the job that Republicans on the Hill should have done for the American people. Ruling makes it all the way back up the food chain. This goes to the Supreme Court again. If the Supreme Court strikes down Obamacare, what is the plan?
Well,
the American people have yet to see a plan from the Republicans. Welcome on this Sunday morning to America's News Headquarters out of Washington. I'm Gillian Turner.
Nice to be with you, Gillian. Nice to be with you at home.
Right, like let's assume for the purposes of this discussion just for a moment that they were. Do you view these attempts then as a success in the sense that they sowed chaos across the country, they got a lot of media coverage, or do you view them as a failure because nothing ever transpired?
I think it's a success. Whoever was behind them, they were